Welcome, everybody. I am Jacqueline Ortiz, aka the Self Love Diva, and I am the host of the Self Love Diva Show. I have to skyrocket your levels of confidence and self-worth and self-esteem so you can attract a loving, passionate, juicy relationship you've always wanted. And I am here blessed with Dr. Patty Brinton. Hi, Dr. Patty.
Hello, darling.
Awesome. You are such an accomplished lady that I'm going to read your bio because it is phenomenal. Absolutely. Dr. Patty is a clinical sexologist. How sexy is that? Sexuality educator and the pioneer of the sex coaching with top-level credentials. As a well-respected world leader in sexuality, she's an academic author of 5 amazing books, a popular speaker, trainer, and workshop leader, and host of over 40 DVDs for couples sexual enhancement. She's a frequent guest on summits, national television shows, documentaries, live talk, and news radios and magazines such as Cosmopolitan, Men's Health, Women's Health. She has a private practice in Los Angeles area via Skype globally. Dr. Patty is the co-founder of the Sex Coach U, the world's premier credentialing and training organization for sex coaching. Dr. Patty believes that women and men have a divine birthright to experience their sexual power, eroticism, and ultimate pleasure. And you can find her on sexcoachu.com and Dr. Patty Brinton. Welcome. It's so great to have you here today.
Thank you so much. I'm laughing because you said that I'm a sexologist, which is the cutest thing I've ever heard. I'm actually a clinical sexologist. That's what my degree is in, and that's what one of my credentials is in, but I'm going to borrow what you just did.
Sexologist. Well, and you're so sexy, so there you go.
Well, I'm about helping women in particular find the sexiness inside and letting that out. So it's a beautiful
It's a beautiful thing,
right?
Absolutely. Especially today, we're going to be talking about the 5 best keys to self-love. So that is perfect. Loving it. Yeah, because it's sexuality. I'm assuming you agree with me. Comes from the inside out. So
it does.
Yeah. So how do you define self-love?
Well, I think it's about loving yourself first. And I think as women in particular, we're used to being the servers, not at the end of the serving line. And, you know, if we look at the classic literature of codependency, we see that the person who puts him, her, or their self last is the codependent person. So there's something about really making yourself count and owning yourself and claiming yourself. But first you have to do the work. And, you know, whether that's clearing old wounds or your baggage, or just, I do so many different processes with clients and my students around healing those old wounds around our sexuality and around our body image in particular. But self-love is really the foundation. So if you don't love yourself, don't expect anyone else is going to show up and love you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. At least, especially not the way you deserve to be loved. They may find their own version of loving, but not that is a whole complete sense of complete loving versus just something from what their neediness or cleanliness. So,
and you know, love is a state of being, and love is an energy field. And when we are tuned in and know that, I mean, there's so much new science coming out around the heart and around the fact that our heart has 40,000 neurons, so that actually we're learning that we live in a body that has 2 brain centers, this brain and our skull, and the heart brain. And when we can anchor into that and even line up the brain and the heart, we're really capable of experiencing love at levels we've never dreamed of. So there's something so profound about tuning into that force field, that energetic state. And also I teach my clients, love is an action. Love is a verb. It's not something you get. It's a way of being. It's something that is exchanged. And it really has a lot to do with the energetic components that I'll talk about in a few minutes. So I'm really glad we're talking about this, because I think that self-love is the foundation for partnered everything. And that if we can't move into that, we're going to be constantly looking for someone else or something else to fill the void or fix the hole in the fabric of self. Don't you agree with that?
Oh my God, absolutely. It like you say, in every relationship, not just a partner, a loving partner or a sexual partner, but in every relationship. So what has made you so passionate about this specific niche or topic versus just coaching in general? Because I
Well,
think it's so sexy.
well, I'm trained as a clinical sexologist. So sexology, which is the discipline, is a scientific study of human sexual behavior and the impact on self, on others, and believe it or not, also on the environment. So that field, that special area of study of human sexuality has always been my calling. And in 1990, which is a long time ago now, I happened to bump into this person called Thomas Leonard and this thing called Coach U and this phenomenon called coaching. And I went, oh my God, this is what people need. They need the sexology, they need the sexological approach, which is a very humanistic, accepting, whole person centered way of looking at our sexual story and our sexual expression. But in order to help people, I think we need to use a coaching modality. Not to say that therapy is bad or wrong. Many people need psychotherapy, social work, whatever it is in the mental health arena. But coaching is such a happy and positive and forward moving motion to help people become who they can be, who they truly can evolve to fulfill as their dream self. So there's something about coaching that always called me once I bumped into it and became a student of Thomas Leonard long ago. I integrated sexology with coaching to form sex coaching. And my passion that gets me up every single day is bringing more light and sexual healing to the world. That's it, simple put. But in order to do that, I really believe we need to myth bust. We need to teach accurate, comprehensive information. And we could talk for hours about how that happens in sex ed in the schools, or doesn't happen for the most part. But also really reframing for people what they can expect as healthy sexual expression, as sexual health and healthy sexuality, two different sides of the same coin in some ways. So coaching is really the pathway and how I love to work with my clients and how I train others. But sexology is where I sit. This is my field. This is who I am. I am a sexuality expert as a sexologist, as you put it. I'm going to use that for days now.
Good, you coined it for me. Awesome.
But we also have to walk our talk. And I think that's part of the role modeling that maybe some women today don't have access to, that those of us who have been doing this a very long time, such as myself, I'm in my 7th decade of life. So yes, I am.
I would never, ever, sincerely, ever.
I'm telling all of you who are watching, this is what the 7th decade of life can look and feel and sound like, because we're empowered, because we've owned who we really are, and we've done that work or play, however you want to look at that, so that we're a whole person first.
You say it's simple, but it's so profound and transformational, especially for women that really need to get in touch with their bodies and feeling sexual. And sex, no matter what, it's very important for our sexual inner love and also for relationships. We have to be able to connect with another intimately with another person. So sexuality, sex is so important. So it's very transformational. I believe you said you have 5 keys that you call Meebs. What is that?
Well, when I was formulating this new way of working with clients, whether it's one person or a couple or a threesome or whatever, it evolved into a model or a system that I've created called the Meebs approach, or the Meebs model. And it stands for the 5 parts of the sexual self. And when we clear the obstacles, the baggage, the boulders, sometimes are in the road, or the pebbles, it depends on who you are. But when we look at those 5 parts of the sexual self, we're looking at the mental realm, we're looking at the emotional realm, we're looking at the body or the physical realm, and that includes, this is where sex usually is thought about, is the body, right? Like we think of sex plays out in the body. Sex is about tab A and slot B or anything like that. But really, there's also such a huge cry and shame-based sense that so many women have about their bodies, especially about their sexual anatomy, their inadequacies, their insecurities, their vulnerability. and they're self-loathing. It's really a toxic state to be in when you're not loving the skin that you're in or the shape that you're in. So the body is really where most of when we talk about sex and sexuality plays out, but also body image and behaviors, the things that we do as we're being sexual alone and or with a partner. And in the other two realms of the self are energy, so how energy flows within ourselves, and spirit. And that's the one that I really feel so strongly about, that our spirit is like a little blue flame inside. That's the essence of who we are as a sexual person, as a sexual being. And often I find women in particular have let that flame just die down to just a hint of a blue flame. It hasn't ignited. And often with couples that I work with, my primary profile of couples is the sexless couple, people who haven't been experiencing sex together for a long time. I've had people who've been married 22 to 30 years who haven't touched each other in 10 years, really. Wow. Who haven't had sex, but even just touch is part of thriving as a human being. And people who are sexless for a variety of reasons stop touching, and then they begin to die off. And often that relationship comes to me as their last saving grace, they hope, where I can wave a magic wand on dead on arrival and they'll wake up. And I can do that sometimes. It depends on my client and my relationship and what I can help them facilitate. But really, getting back to spirit, it's the essence of ourself. And so we have to locate that. We have to find that. I once worked with a woman whose self-love was blocked because there was a wild animal self that lived inside her. And I'll never forget this. This was such a cool session that we had where I was speaking with her, like session 5. And I said, I'm just feeling like there's, I don't know, like a wolf that lives inside you, and you've got to liberate that she-wolf so that you can be free and experience orgasms with this amazing guy that you're having sex with. And she took her sock off and she lifted her foot, and she had a wolf tattooed on her right foot. And she looked at me and she said, you got me, I'm ready. So,
wow.
These things happen in sessions, they happen in dialogue and communication, because as a coach and as a clinician, it's really my role to help you find your truth, isn't it? And that's the kind of work that I love doing. And so it's a big part of it.
Well, I love the way how you integrate all the parts, and that's so important, because it's not just about physical sexuality, just about the orgasm, but it's how do you get the spiritual orgasm, the mind, body, spirit. I love that, the energy, because people think, oh, well, just do this or just put a vibrator or whatever, and that would solve it. But that doesn't give you the fulfillment. Yes, the vibrator can be great, but you need, I believe, we all need more than just that physical. We need the mind-body connection, the spiritual and energetic release. I love that, how you integrate everything.
That's great. I'm glad you get all that, and not to minimize the use of a vibrator. Let me be that person.
Yes, I'll second that.
Toys, sexual enhancement, we call them pleasure products today. They're your helper. They're not a competition for your lover. Yes. Same sex, other sex. It's really a part of the industry today of sexual wellness, and I love that. And I think it's so important to also speak to the glory of orgasm. In a lot of our literature, female sexual wellness is now steering women away from go get your orgasm to experience the pleasure of the ride. And I'm kind of a quiet voice in the background that says, sure, be in the moment, be mindful, experience and delight in what's happening right here, right now, whatever that is. Mm-hmm. But orgasm is part of health. Orgasm does a lot for the physical human body. It releases neurochemicals. It releases other hormones and chemicals. It gives us exercise. It moves our blood through our body. It oxygenates the brain, makes us smarter. I mean, there are so many literal health benefits to an orgasm that may or may not occur if you're not reaching that orgasmic plateau and expressing that. So I really want to say that find your way to your orgasm. That's one of the most special things that I'm able to do with female clients in particular, women who are pre-orgasmic. Notice I'm not saying not orgasmic. I believe every woman can. And so as a sex coach, I'm able to actually facilitate her journey so that she can awaken and she can experience that. That's kind of like sacred work for me to be able to do that.
Absolutely.
So, orgasm, good.
It is very good. Actually, I'm going to be vulnerable and make a confession.
Okay.
I had a gentleman that was dating for quite a while, and we were intimate, and I couldn't reach a plateau with him, so I pulled out my vibrator, and
Yes.
he was in shock, and I gently brought it up, and he said that was competition, and it was either him or the vibrator. I go, honey, sayonara. I said in a very nice way, very compassionate, but he that's exactly, there was competition, and that is kind of concerning when someone like that thinks it's competition instead of focusing on your pleasure. So what I'm trying to say is that not to feel guilty about the pleasure it brings you, or not to feel guilty if you either need a stimulation like a vibrator, or if someone says choose, that's their own insecurity or his insecurity, not your own, and you shouldn't feel guilty about pleasuring yourself. That's my take on that.
Well, first of all, two things. One, if you're with somebody who is so focused on his fixing the problem, so to speak, and his ego gets in the way and he says it's my way or the highway, which is really what he told you.
Yeah.
Highway, bye.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to be a compassionate, connective, respectful lover, period.
Yeah.
The other part is that it is threatening to many men. We're talking heterosexually. Of course, there are same-sex issues that relate as well. And what happens is the vibrator, you know, first of all, some of them are like this big. They're honking back massagers. And the technology today is shrinking these objects with powerful, like USB port driven motors. I mean, they're not even motors. They're so refined in terms of the technology in this industry of pleasure products. So you can find something that's like a mouse. Like, here's my mouse here. It's like a third the size. That mouse can be a clitoral stimulator. And that's the other thing, is that 90% of women say that it's clitoral stimulation that they need. They need direct clitoral stimulation and or indirect, meaning not on the little pearl or the little spot that is your clit, but around it or above it. And you have to know your body. That's part of my message to all of you, is self-love.
And you say 90%.
90.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that, because a lot of women feel like they should have with sexual intercourse, and that is so true. 90, I didn't know it was that high, but I knew it was really high. I thought it was 75%, but 90% of women. And then what happens is a lot of women feel guilty, or they feel like something's wrong. For instance, he was saying, you're trying to replace me. I'm like, no, it's not replacement. It's complementing. It's enhancing. It's whatever, but it wasn't working, but that's okay. But the bottom line is, it's good. I think it's huge that you're telling women that it's not just sexual intercourse, because that's where the men think that that's it. And then you feel like, what's wrong with me? A lot of women feel that way. Like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just do intercourse? And I'm glad you brought that up. That's huge.
Well, the nerve endings in the clitoris are 4 times the head of the penis, which is the organ that it's similar to. And it's not that 90% of women can't experience their orgasm except through clitoral stimulation. It's that women report, 90% of them report they need that. Now, sometimes that means you have to have something internal, something inside the vaginal walls that's stimulating, that gives you a sense of what we call containment or fullness or contact. But 90% of women say they need clitoral stimulation, maybe just to get hot, to get wet, to get turned on, to get into the experience of sharing sex with a partner. The reports are varied about how many women experience orgasm through penetrative sex, penis in vagina alone. And it's really about 3/4 of women. We'll just use that statistic. So it's important to know that your clit is the center of your sexual universe. It is the center of, it's your pleasure center.
So, excuse me, 3/4 of women, what?
3/4 of women cannot have an orgasm by just having something inserted vaginally. That's where the 90% comes in. Most women, we could say, need to have their clitoris stimulated. Usually we're talking manually. We may be talking orally. We may be talking with one of those beautiful pleasure products. Whatever it is, that physical manipulation and stimulation is needed. Now, that's not to say that all women, and that's not to say that all women get turned on just by clitoral stimulation. That's why I have the Meebs model. Sometimes they get turned on by what they're hearing. They may have somebody say to them, I love when you fill in the blank. And she's like, oh, I'm there. Or, you're the most sexy, beautiful woman that I've ever made love to. That might be a turn on. But it may be emotions. It may be the physical. It may be just the energy. It might be their smell. I mean, we know that we're physical beings. We're animals, and that even the scent of a partner can ignite us and get that blue flame going into fire.
So am I hearing that the moral of the story is, bottom line is, that us women have to take responsibility for our own pleasure and learn what works for us, and then somehow convey it in a compassionate, caring, non-confrontational way to our partners, so they can understand. So we're all different, all diverse, all walks of life, all different things that stimulate us, and we just have to learn and go out there and practice and practice and practice.
Yeah, and know that masturbation or solo sex or self-love in that way, as a sexologist, that is the foundation for all of our partnered sexual activity.
Yes.
So you got to know how your body works. We call it the sexual response cycle. You have to know what turns you on, what gets you aroused, what keeps you aroused, what gets you over the hump, or I call it going over the waterfall. like you needed a toy or a stimulator or a vibrator to get you over the waterfall with that guy. Bye guy. And some women need to just close their eyes and do a fire breathing, and some women need to be totally quiet. Some of them need intense spanking on their butt. Whatever it is, you got to find out, how does your body work, and how does it work in harmony with what you're thinking, what you're feeling emotionally, what the energies are around you. I could have a client, for example, where what's going on and stopping her from experiencing pleasure and orgasm with her partner is that there's very thin walls in her apartment building, and she's ashamed that she might make a sound. So we come up with a fix for that, whether it's white noise or turning up the music or putting a rug on your wall. If that's it, and that's an easy fix, then we have to look at all the dimensions of your sexual expression and really look at what are the remedies so that you can sail on and have the joy and pleasure you deserve.
And that is what is so special and liberating and mind-blowing about your work, is that you use all the different realms, which is the dimensions of realms of mind, body, spirit, energetic, and spiritual. And that is what captivates me, and I'm sure the audience, because it's really revolutionary and very transformational. So what is some of the deepest work you do with your clients?
I think that for some of my clients, it's healing their sexual stories. I once had a woman and her husband come in who were on the verge of divorce. I get a lot of those actually around sex. And she walked in and she took my hand, she shook my hand, and she said, "Hi, I'm a survivor of sexual abuse since I was 5. And my name is." In other words, she identified herself as a survivor of sexual abuse. By session 2, I coached her personally without her husband present. And I said, "Listen, sweetie, I'm inviting you to stop identifying yourself that way. And I'm inviting you to rewrite your sexual story." And so I often have my clients rewrite their sexual story. Instead of saying, "I'm a survivor of sexual abuse," I'm a vibrant, sexy woman who has a history of that. Yes. So that we minimize this pain center, this trauma, this wounding, and we don't come forward as that first, and we begin to pack it away and heal it. And that's really deep work. I also love working with ritual. And I have on YouTube somewhere, I don't know, I think it's called Malibu Healing Ritual.
I saw it. It's profound. I love it.
I know. I really went to this place in Malibu, power place, and I walk you around this power source and up the mountain and looking at the sea, and I show you how I do ritual work, which I still do there occasionally. So that's my deepest work. But any of the work can be deep because our sexuality is layered and complicated. It's not a simple, easy fix. And it really is part of the reason that I have such a world mission now, to train as many competent professionals as I can to become certified sex coaches through my program at sexcoachu.com. Because I know how complicated it is. I know how deep it can go. I know how profound our identity is enmeshed with our sexuality, our identification, our story, our history of shame, because shame is one of the big culprits that really hurts us and shuts us down. And so, you know, the deep work is really about who you are and how do we get you to discover your sexual self-realization, the full you that you can be. That's the journey that I take with my clients and that I train other people to take their clients on.
No, that's beautiful. 'Cause it is. No, I mean, what an amazing way to wake up. Sexologist.
I'm getting new cards made tomorrow.
Every morning she wakes up thinking about sex and sexuality and sensuality. And what an amazing way to live. And when we as women can step into our powerhouse and be vibrant and like you said, every woman is their own expression of themselves, and every woman's unique in the way that they are turned on and orgasmic, and everything else is so unique. So it's profound how you are able to mind, body, spirit, energetic, everything, and spiritual, and have that be the transformation. Because once you transform your self-love and your sexuality, that, like you said, your energy just goes through the roof.
And it changes the rest of your life.
It does.
This is the cool thing, is that I look at it as a series of circles, like concentric circles. In the center is your sexual self, and I see it all the time. When you heal what's not working in that core of self, it spreads out to the whole of your life. You begin to experience your own personal power and the joy of pleasure and connection, because that's really what most people are looking for. Isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's beautiful. Yeah, you heal from the inside out. You heal your chakras. You align and balance your chakras, and affects your aura, your energy, and what you attract into your life, your vibration, everything.
Absolutely.
It's the foundation. It's amazing. That is beautiful. Thank you so much. You have been incredibly brilliant and informative and funny and sexually stimulating our brains into being open to different ways of pleasuring ourselves and giving us permission, which is true. That's one of the things. Am I true? That's what you do. You help us, give us permission to feel, to experiment without guilt. Is that what? Yeah, right?
Well, one of the models that I train people in, and we know this from sex therapy and sexuality counseling and education in general, is a model that begins with five stages. How we take a client over time in our work with them. The first stage is permission. So you nailed it. If you don't give yourself permission to open up, to do that healing work, to explore, to experiment, to expand, nobody else is going to do that for you. So I give you permission to give yourself permission.
Thank you. Thank you. Will you be able to expand on the other four?
The other four,
5 steps.
So the 5 steps are permission, limited information. So sometimes it's like saying to somebody, look, 90% of all women need direct or indirect clitoral stimulation. No wonder you're not experiencing an orgasm. No one's touching you there, and you're not touching yourself during penetrative sex. That's limited information. Specific suggestions are things like, okay, you're questioning your gender orientation, like your sexual orientation. So I want you to go to 3 gay bars this weekend and see how it feels to look at men pleasuring each other, playing with each other, just hanging out. I want you to feel that. That would be a specific suggestion that I might make. And the 4th or the 5th is intensive treatment. Sometimes, especially with people who are very, very, very traumatized and inexperienced. Often, like the 40-Year-Old Virgin, the movie that came out years ago, I have a lot of those clients. Some of them are female, most of them are males. So intensive training might mean working with somebody on the outside, like maybe if there's sexual pain, sexual physiotherapist. So that client of mine would then be going into intensive treatment with somebody else while they're working with me around their opening up their pleasure capacity and getting back into sex with their partner. Does that make sense? So there are many, many, many reasons that clients seek out the services of a sexologist or sexiologist or a sex therapist, counselor, educator, sex coach. I'm in the world training sex coaches because we can be a great adjunct for the therapy route. And sex coaches are sexologists. So that's really, that model, PLISSIT, PLISSIT, is one way. Meebs is the other way, to help people declutter their sexual self, getting the clutter out of the mind, the emotions, the body, the energy, and the spirit, and giving free flow.
Beautiful. I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I know, first, I would like to ask you, what I've been asking is, if women would like to get more in touch with their sexuality, what would be, for the next 24 hours, actionable, doable steps they could do to get more in touch with their sexuality?
Okay, I'm going to take a risk here, and I'm going to
Yes.
say you need to spend some time, quality time alone. You need to look at yourself down there. You need to take out a mirror. You need to be brave, breathe through it, and actually look at your gorgeous, beautiful vulva. Because I'll bet that most women have not done that. Most of us haven't, unless we're sexologists in training, where we're told we need to do that, or we have the joy and pleasure working with somebody like me or the people I've trained. You need to claim yourself, because there's so much shame connected with that. And find out what pleasures you. Keep a pleasure log every day. What gives your body pleasure? What's juicy? And not, I'm not talking just sexually. What gives you pleasure? Is it eating warm chocolate pie? Is it taking a bubble bath and listening to beautiful music on your smartphone? Is it taking a walk in nature? Is it using a new vibrator? That's maybe a triple stimulator, which are out there.
There you go.
Whatever it is that is part of your knowing that your body has the capacity to give you pleasure. Because I find that so many women don't give themselves permission or feel deserving and worthy of pleasure. And that's a lot of what the journey of opening up your sexuality is really all about.
Okay, ladies, you heard it here. Dr. Patty has suggested that we do our homework and we get connected and intimate with our vaginas. So there you go.
The vulva is the hole. The vagina is the canal. And your know where your clitoris is located. Really important. Go Google it.
And stimulate it.
And stimulate it.
Yeah,
say,
go for it.
Hello, clitoris. I love you.
Yeah, it's true. We need to get more connected and intimate with ourselves. We really do. Love that. I love that mirror exercise. Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you. And you have been so generous to offer free gifts. Would you like to please expand on what those are?
Yes. So years ago, I had the privilege of making a 3-part DVD series on the Kama Sutra. I did a lot of research on what the actual teachings were of the Kama Sutra. And in that program, the second DVD was on pleasing or pleasuring the woman first. So I wrote an ebook about that. And so it's for her pleasure. You're going to love it. It guides you through a series. And this is how you're also going to look at your sexual anatomy and little exercises in there. And it's really about claiming your body, claiming your self-love, and it's about female empowerment. So I hope you enjoy it. It's easy to download.
So that's what we can also do. We can go on your website, download it, and do the homework assignment and look at our vulva. And if we would like to learn more about you and your services, how do we do that?
You can stop over at my website, drpattybritton.com, or if you feel a calling to be trained or do sex coaching as a profession, sexcoach.com. And we're a global family. That program is now in 67 countries and Puerto Rico.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah, this is really a global phenomenon happening.
Those are a lot of sexologists going around.
A lot of sexologists. So many languages and cultures.
That's beautiful. I love it. Dr. Patty, thank you.
Iceland all the way to South Africa, in Asia, everywhere in the world.
Up and down and all around the world.
All around the world. Sexy.
There you go. Awesome. Yeah. That is beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, love.
It has been an absolute pleasure. And it's been fun and sexy and enlightening. And thank you so much. And I would love for all the listeners and viewers to go to your website and start practicing looking at the vulvas and download your ebook and enjoy. Exactly. And thank you so much. And have a blessed day. Bye, ladies. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.